many a times what teachers do, if they do not find any option, fourth option, they write none of the above. If they think that all three options are correct, that they have given A, B, C, then they write all of the above. But whether all of the above and none of the above are options, most of the time, I'm not telling always, but most of the times, teachers write this none of the above or all of the above because they do not have another alternate, or they have already written three correct answers. That should be avoided. Okay, as far as practicable, and if it doesn't have, it is much better. But if it is unavoidable, then do write. But then those who are making question paper using softwares, you have to completely avoid none of the above and all of the above. I will tell you the reason. The options are getting shuffled in the softwares, and when the options are shuffled, say you would have given all of the above as the fourth option, D, option D, but it will come on the top. What is the meaning of all the above in that case? Option A, all of the above, option B something, option C something, option D something. There is no meaning of all the above. Similarly, none of the above. Suppose none of the above comes as option B. None of the above is not A. So this will be completely invalid if you are using any software or you are generating MCQs using computer. You should completely get rid of using none of the above and all of the above. But otherwise, also it is advisable not to use none of the above and all of the above. Okay, now this term is not tricky, misleading, or unambiguous. Sorry, or ambiguous. It means it should not be leading to the students to misunderstand. It should be clear in simple words. It should be mentioned. Okay, options are independent of one another. No cluing. In sense, clues should not be provided in the answer itself. They should be, say, I will give you one example here. Say, what is the, say for example, the right age of voting in India is 18 years, 20 years, 25 years, 28 years. Which option is correct? Now, the answer of this one is all the options are correct. You may be thinking that it is 18, but the person with age 20, is he or she not eligible to vote? Answer is yes. In that case, you are thinking that the answer is correct answer is 18, but the correct answer, all the answers are correct. If any child chooses any answer, you have to give marks. So it is not a good question. Okay. Now, correct answers and the distractors are of similar length. We need to remember this thing. Usually what happens, teachers give incorrect answers which are very small, and the correct answer is properly mentioned. So it is lengthy, and that by itself it says that I am the correct one. Children will be very easily be able to guess it. So all the distractors, all the options should be of almost equal length. If it is so, it is difficult to guess. So do not ever write incorrect answers which are small in length and correct answer descriptively properly. This is not a right or a good habit. Okay. Distractors are plausible. See, there is no spelling mistake in the word plausible. Distractors should be plausible. What is the meaning of plausible distractors? Let me tell you what are plausible distractors. Say distractors should be plausible. It means they are probable answers. They are reasonable answers. They are believable answers. Possible answer is very say easy type of explaining this one. But probable, reasonable, and believable. If they are of this nature, then only they are distractors. That means it will distract the mind. It will force the child to think this might also be correct, or this may also be correct. The child has to say, think twice, thrice, before giving the answer, because all the answers will seem to be correct answer. Say if the child uses some incorrect formula, the child may land on another answer. So those type of answers are to be chosen by the teachers. The goal is to assess the student's knowledge, not their reading ability or comprehensive ability. So when you are writing distractors, use minimum number of words. Do not make it lengthy distractors. Okay. So this is how we need to have distractors. Whenever we have distractors, we need to understand that there is some probability of choosing. If no child chooses a particular option, it is not a distractor. It is not a valid distractor. Let me put it in outright that if no child chooses a particular option in your MCQ, that option is an invalid option. If less than 5% of children uses any particular option, it is an invalid option. Change it. Okay, I will come to that a bit better later. Logical order of the option is maintained. That means, see, if the child is able to rule out option A, the child has to think of option B. The child cannot outright go to option C, which is the correct one. So that is what is logical sequencing. The answers are given in such a manner that if the child ignores option A, the child has to read option B. That might be also correct. So that is what is known as the logical order. Items and options are free from grammatical errors. If you are making grammatical errors, you may lead to some other issues. Now look at this question. The type of test used to measure school achievement is called an diagnostic test, ability test, profile test, and achievement test. Now what is the problem with this question? The problem with this question is already the sentence is ending with an N. If it is ending with an N, the two options given, diagnostic test and profile test, are automatically overruled. There is no probability of these options. So these are invalid options. The question itself has got answer. Either it is ability test or achievement test. So this is an invalid question. You should avoid it. So the better way is to same options, but look at the question how it is changed. The type of test, say only the word N is removed from this one, and that is used as a prefix for the options, and thereby it is, unless the child knows, will not be able to guess. Similarly, say I want to issue a book, I want to get a book issued. There is a different, I want to issue a book in the library is different from I want to get a book issued from the library. If I want a book from the library, I should say I want to get a book issued from the library. I am not issuing a book to the library. There are so many things, say literature teachers, language teachers can explain it better, but I'm not going in detail to say what are the grammatical mistakes we are committing when we are making questions, but please ensure that the questions are free from grammatical errors also. Okay. Now, are you with me till now? Have you understood what are the important things that you need to keep in mind while making MCQs, and what are the errors you are making while MCQs? If there is any problem till now, I will be, I can repeat it. I can tell you how it is to be done. I will say conclude it, whatever I have discussed till now, then I will proceed to the next part of it. Please do not ask for attendance link. Those who are here, you need to understand that attendance link will be sent to you only at the end of the session. Please do not ask for it. It is a disturbance to everybody. Now, what I told is what should be the quality of questions, what should be included in the question paper, and what should not be included in the question paper. Okay, remember this thing. In the questions, how the question will add quality, how will the questions set by the teachers will be qualitative questions. Please avoid giving only one correct answer and some incorrect answers as options. This is very, very important. unless we know how and what are to be kept in mind while making MCQs, our MCQs will be will not be able to check any efficiency of the children. The MCQs should be aimed at checking some ability of the children, whether it is remembering ability, whether it is evaluating ability, whether it is creating ability. And I have suggested to go through the exemplars and sample question papers of CBSE, which is already uploaded in the website. All of you, irrespective of the topic, irrespective of the subject and class you are teaching, please go through those MCQs. You will get a lot of knowledge how to set good MCQs. Okay. Now, next part of my session is item analysis. That means, how, being a teacher, how shall I know whether the question set by me is of some quality or not? The statistical technique which is used for selecting and reflecting on items of the test is known as item analysis. It is a mathematical way of testing whether the quality of the question is good or not, whether the options that you have asked are actually should be given or not. You can test it yourself. There is no software required for this thing. Those who are say those who know mathematics up to class 1, 2, they can do by themselves. Okay, there is no problem. So let me tell you, there are 3 things that I will be discussing. But before that, what is the purpose of item analysis? Let me tell you. To select the best item for the test, you have made some 20 questions and you can choose the best 10 best questions from among 20 by yourself. To know structure and content defects in the item, what are the problems in your question, you can know by yourself through this item analysis. To detect learning difficulties of the learner of a class, where the children lack, where emphasis should be given while teaching a particular concept or maybe the chapter, that you can know by yourself. To identify the area of weakness of the learner and need of remediation. What kind of remediation will you provide that you yourself can understand? What are the weaknesses of the learner that you can identify? To increase skills in the test construction, you will be a better MCQ maker if you know how to analyze your questions by yourself. You will be a better question maker. Okay, and the question makers, you should all know that the questions made by CBSE are made by the teachers like you and me. The teachers who are competent enough are being invited and given chance to make question papers at CBSE. There are also school teachers who are making question papers, which are being used for, say, all the students of India and abroad, which are affiliated with CBSE. So we can also be good question makers. And if you know how to make questions, or if you know what are the problems we used to have while making question paper. To identify the areas which need greater emphasis or clarity. By applying a test and analyzing it, you can know where you should give more emphasis, which part of the concept is not clearly understood by the students. Now, 3 things we will be discussing in item analysis. One is known as a difficulty index or p-value. Another is known as discrimination index or DI. And third one is distractor effectiveness or DE. What are those 3 things? Difficulty index means how difficult the question was. After giving the test, after assigning the test to the students and getting the corrected ones, say after getting the answer sheet corrected, you can find out the difficulty index. That means which question was more difficult, which question was less difficult, which question was moderately difficult, you can know by yourself. That is what is known as a p-value or the difficulty index. Then what is next is discrimination index. What does it mean? Whether you are able to, by administering a test, you are able to discriminate between high achievers and low achievers. That what does it mean? The students who are really good should be able to score good marks, and the students who are not that good should be able to score less marks than the good students. That should be what is the purpose of examination and test. If all the students score 90%, 100%, is it a right way of testing the children? That means some children who are deserving 90 or 100%, they themselves with the score. There is no doubt about it. But those who do not deserve, they also will get 90 to 100% marks. In that case, the question paper is not a good question paper. So your question paper, look at any board question paper. You will see there are a variety of students who are appearing the test, and it is able to discriminate students with 30% ability, 40% ability, 50% ability, 90% ability, and 100% ability. So our discrimination index will do that. And the last one that I will discuss is distractor index, distractor effectiveness. That means how good are your distractors, are the options that you are giving. That we will discuss in nutshell. Now there is a simple formula, mathematical formula, which can be used to find out the p-value. P is equal to H plus L divided by N multiplied by 100. What is H? The number of students answering a question correctly in the highly achieving group. What do you need to do? First of all, you assign a test to the student. Suppose there are 40 students in your class. Then after checking the answer sheets, you arrange the top 27 students and arrange the bottom 27 students. Say 27% of students. 27% means around 10 students. Top 10 students and bottom 10 students. I repeat what I said. After checking the answer sheets, MCQ answer sheet, keep the top 10 students, top 10 scorers and bottom 10 scorers. Now H is equal to number of students answering the item correctly. Those who have, now from among the top 10 students, how many students have answered the question number 1 correctly? That you need take as H. And from the bottom 10 students, how many students have answered the same question correctly? I repeat, out of 40 students in your class, arrange them in descending order so that you will get from top to bottom. Top 10 students, how many of, if I take, consider question number 1, how many top students, top 10 students have correctly answered question number 1? That is H. How many students of lowest level, that means the low achievers, lowest in the bottom, those 10 students, how many of them have answered the same question, question number 1 correctly? That is L. Divided by total number of students. Total number of students in both the groups is 20. So 10 in the top, 10 in the bottom. And if you divide that one and multiply by 100, you will get the p-value. And what is the meaning of p-value? If it is between 30 to 70%, you will get it in percentage because it is multiplied by 100. If it is between 30 to 70%, the question is acceptable. It's a moderately good question. If it is 50 to 60 question, it is ideal. It's a very good question. If it is less than 30%, then it is too difficult. And if it is more than 70%, it is too easy. The value of P, if it is between 30 to 60%, then it is acceptable and ideal question. If it is less than 30% or more than 70%, it is either too difficult or too easy. Change it. So you can know by yourself whether the question that you have asked was too easy, moderately easy, or difficult by using the P, say P value. Then coming to the next one, discriminator index. With the same value of H and L, you can use this formula. H minus L multiplied by 2 whole divided by N. And what this will range between 0 and 1. And if it is between 0.2 to 0.35, it is considered as a good question. Good question in sense, it is able to discriminate between good students and students with low performance. If DI is more than 0.35, it is considered to be excellent. Means the more the DI value, the more you are able to discriminate between good students and students finding difficulty in understanding. And if it is less than 0.2, it is considered to be poor, means it is not discriminating good students and students with low efficiency. Students with high efficiency and students with low efficiency, your question is not discriminating. The question is not able to differentiate between two kinds of children if it is less than 2. So you yourself test how good your questions are. And the last one that I wanted to discuss is the distractor effectiveness. It means how good are your options. Now, how good your options are? If less than 5% of students use a particular option, then it is not at all a valid option. Change it. It is known as non-functional distractor. And if it is, say if it is less than 5%, that means almost nobody has used that particular option. It is not a valid option. Children have outright rejected that option. They are not thinking that it is a plausible answer. So please avoid those kind of distractors, change the distractor. So in this way, you can know the difficulty level of the question. You can know how well it is discriminating between high achievers and low achievers, and you yourself will be able to know how good are your options given. Whatever options you have chosen, you yourself can get a reflection how good are those options, and accordingly you change the question. You have all abilities to make good questions, but you need to know. Now those who couldn't understand this p-value, DE, and say the previous one, that is DI, please write down these 3 words. You can Google it and can find out from the internet also. District, say your difficulty index DI, difficulty index or p-value, DI is a discriminatory index or discrimination index, and the third one is distractor effectiveness. You can find out these 3 from internet also for your more clarity, but at the same time, if it is not clear yet, I will be able to clarify in another 1 or 2 minutes. This is all from me. If you have any question at your end, you can ask me. In the same time, let me show you a good question and a question which needs improvement. I think you are able to see my screen. Please check it out. So there is a question given here. I am showing the actual question paper and the answers given by the students, a part of that. In question number 13, you see the first option is chosen by none. No student has chosen option 1, and almost everybody has chosen option number 2, that is B, option B. So the option A is not a valid option. Do not go with the question. What is the question? I am not trying to explain, but I am trying to explain. After getting the answer sheet, after analyzing the answer sheet, if you see that no student has checked option A or option D, and only one student has checked option C, none of the options is a correct option or valid option. Please change the options. Whereas look at the second question. In the second question, 6 students have chosen option A. So it is a good distractor. It is able to distract the child, is able to compel the child to think. Only 18 students have given the correct answer out of 30 students. So it is a good question. It is able to understand. It is able to discriminate the good students. It is able to have it is able to check the ability of the children properly. 4 students have checked option C and 2 students have checked option D. It means this is a very good question because it is falling into the right frame of making a good question, MCQ question. So all options A, B, C, D are very good options, and this is a question which is trying to check the actual learning ability of the children. Okay. Now, what are the advantages? It is quick, easy, and using technology, you can do it very fast, very easy to take statistics and item analysis, can be graded objectively without rater's bias. Say there is no need of biasing because the way you understand, you say assign marks to the children in case of descriptive answers, but that is not true. Possible to include broad range of topics in a single exam to test students' knowledge. You can check the students' knowledge in varied way. That is all from me. And if you have still any question, you can post it on the chat box. I will try to answer them. Let me go to the chat box so that I can see if there is any answers till left. Okay. Let me check. Yes, I'm back to the chat box. Let me check the questions if at all there is.